What's going on, everyone? My name is Jonathan. I'm the host here at the Venue RX podcast. We have the incredible pleasure today of interviewing wedding planner Courtney Tibbets. And this interview is going to be a very fun one. Courtney, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, John.
You're listening to the Venue RX podcast, where we provide your weekly prescription of tips, tools, tactics, and inspiration to start or grow your wedding and events business. And now, without further ado, our host, Jonathan Aymin.
All right. Well, I just want to jump right into your story and really, get a little bit of an understanding about your business, who you are as a person. And then we've got a great show planned. I cannot wait to go through some of this stuff, but just kind of unpack for us a little bit, who are you? How did you get started in the wedding and event space at all? Did you, have you always wanted to be a wedding planner? Where did this start for you?
No, I have not always wanted to be a wedding planner. I did not even know that this was a possibility years ago. I actually wanted to be a crime scene investigator. So how I ended up here is just sort of like a series of events. And I would say that most notably, I probably just started with my own wedding. So I got married in 2007. Last minute, sort of my mom and I decided that we wanted a day of coordinator to help us, take away some of the stress and all of that kind of stuff. She did such an awesome job that after the wedding, I sort of thought, well, maybe that's something that I can like dabble in and just kind of, I think I even literally put an ad on Craigslist, like it's that long ago. So this was in 2008.
Craigslist is still out there, right? Isn't Craigslist still a thing?
It is, but I mean, shit, if people are hiring their wedding planner from Craigslist now, they really need Jesus. Don't do it. Everybody has to start somewhere. But yeah, and then it just sort of snowballed from there. And, I have sort of become known for being a wedding planner that most of my clients are unique, non-traditional. I live in San Diego, so I'm based here and we do some weddings here, but my team and I mainly work in the Palm Springs area. And that's been the case for the last 5 or 6 years. And yeah, we just do really big parties. I would say that 95% of my clients in their top 3 priorities for their wedding is just to give their guests a great party and a great experience. So that's kind of what we aim to do. Nothing stuffy, nothing traditional.
Well, and I can speak from personal experience to anyone who's listening, Courtney and her team, Johnny, and just everyone else, they do such a good job. The parties are so fun. Courtney is a riot day of the wedding, but everything is well planned. And I know, we've worked with you on the staffing side for many of those weddings out in the Palm Springs area, and you just do a kick-ass job. So
thank you.
Huge props to you. But that's really an interesting story. So you went from wanting to be a crime scene investigator. And at what point was this? Was this in college?
Yeah. Like my first year, I went to community college. I was taking like paralegal classes, criminology classes. I've just always been obsessed with true crime. I know that's kind of like thing right now, but I've literally always been obsessed with it. Like I love serial killers and all of that.
Do you have a favorite crime show? I have to ask.
A favorite crime show? I mean, I recently during quarantine watched Sopranos. And so I'm kind of obsessed with like mafia stuff right now. And I'm reading a biography on Pablo Escobar.
All right. Well, there you go. So you're definitely more of like the real, very much true crime, not as much like CSI Miami, but
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want real serial killer shit.
Nice. So some Ted Bundy documentaries.
Love it.
Okay, cool.
Eat it up.
Cool. I dig it. Well, as I was doing research for this episode, I got a chance to really carefully go through, some parts of your website, and your website is so fun. I've seen some of it, but your website is so fun. You definitely have an eye for design. Is that something that kind of came naturally to you? Did you hire a company for that?
No, I did all of that. I mean, I have a web designer that I work with, Christy Latham. She's freaking awesome. So she kind of executes some of the back end stuff I use Squarespace for my website. But I do all the copy. I do all the updating. It took me many years to get to that point. At the beginning of my career, I thought that I had to be like a certain way and do a certain thing in order to get clients. And probably again, 5 or 6 years ago, when I entered the Palm Springs market, which is interesting, it all sort of happened at the same time. I was like, you know what? People are going to hire me for me. I'm going to be myself. I'll do the better job that way. I'll never have to sort of dumb myself down, tone myself down. And yeah, it's been smooth sailing since then, of course, until we hit the pandemic, but
that's
a
Rona.
yeah.
We've got to talk about that. We'll unpack that, of course.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to ask, because I feel like there's going to be, people who maybe are hopeful that they could be a wedding planner or a coordinator or be involved in the industry. And maybe they feel kind of like you, like they have a really amazing personality and they really want to let that show through, but they're a little bit worried about, I don't want to stick out too much, or I don't know if I should put that all out there. To speak to your point, do you have any advice for them? Maybe
I think they just need to do it straight from the beginning. If I have any regrets, it's that I didn't be who I was earlier than I did. The clients will come, I think that people should always, like, this is opening a can of worms, but people should always price low at the beginning, of course. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. But once you start seeing the results and you start getting clients and word of mouth stuff starts coming in, I believe in being in the higher end of your market. And just, being you, niche down. And that's how you're the people that land on your website, that when you're really yourself, are going to go like, it's a breath of fresh air. I've landed where I need to be. This girl looks different than everybody else, and she's the perfect person for me. And I've done half my job already before I even talk to them.
Mm-hmm. I've talked with Megan Ely, with Bethel, with a couple of different people that I know as well. In fact, one of the pictures on your site is, has Bethel Nathan in it. They have repeatedly brought up that, point that doing a good job branding yourself means that by the time that the client actually is in your pipeline, you have a pretty good feel that you'll be able to wow them and you'll be able to give them that experience you really want to, instead of constantly struggling with friction along the way. So
I used to be super nervous about consults, and, I would go and drive hours out of my way and spend my whole day going to have coffee with somebody. And now I don't even do that. It's not even a Zoom call. Like, I take a 45-minute phone call consultation. They can take it or leave it. And my closing ratio is 90%. So that's of the people that inquire on my website after they've read through everything. They already know my pricing. They already know my policies, and it just makes it easy. And, it's saving time and efficiency for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Your branding is so on point, and it's so just like going through the site. I feel like it's so you, and it's so fun.
The people who know me are like, oh yeah, this makes complete sense. So I want my clients to know me too.
Yep. So what have you been doing during this whole COVID period? Because we have got,
eating candy, smoking too much marijuana, that sort of thing. No, but really.
Hell yeah.
Don't drink alcohol. Don't judge me.
What you do or don't?
I don't drink. No.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, I don't drink. I know, I'm so weird. No, I've just been dealing with every day as it comes. The past, really since like the holidays, this new year for me, the turn of the calendar isn't going to change much, but I do see it as a fresh start. And, I feel like I've donated my time a lot surrounding this. And, I've had to go back and say to myself, are people paying me for these services? In my contract, does it state that I will postpone your wedding if there's an epidemic, pandemic, act of God, et cetera? It doesn't. I'm of course happy and wanting to guide them through this and want them to trust me and want to give them a great experience. But I also I'm not being paid for it. I have no promise of final payments right now. And so I've had to find ways to deal with that in my mental health and, have my vendors back and have my clients back all at the same time. And for me, that means, I've taken some time to put out some policies and procedures and things, link in my website or in my email and stuff like that, so that my clients, I don't have to keep having these phone calls every single day to say the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. So, everything's evolving and I'm doing the best I can. But I'm taking back some of my time this year as well.
Absolutely. So have you got into any other ventures during this time? Have you kind of just like you said, smoked a ton of weed, candy, hung out a bunch, or are you kind of looking to add other services?
Yeah. So I, in terms of weddings, I have in the past couple of weeks decided I only want to do events that light me up inside. And for me right now, that means either small weddings or people who are paying me for my full service, which, isn't cheap, but I put my whole heart into it. And so I've decided to, at this point, to only offer sort of a month of service for people who are 50 guests and less, okay, or full service. If they're over 50 guests, they have the option to book for full service. And those are the only things that I'm going to be offering for the foreseeable future. Of course, that could change as the climate of the world changes. But that's how I'm pivoting my business right now. And then, I'm trying out a whole bunch of other things. I moved into a new home 3 years ago and I've decorated it to my taste, but I haven't done a whole lot to it. And so I'm enjoying having some of that creativity in my home environment. I'm reading more than I ever had time for, and I'm spending time with my husband. I'm not gone 3 days a week in hotels. It's been the best year and the worst year ever.
Absolutely. I feel like so many people could echo that. I know definitely for me, I've been home. I've got, my 4 kids now.
Yeah.
A total zoo. And, being able to have that time with them, there's definitely that struggle of, how are we pivoting the business? What are we doing? Having those conversations around cancellations, postponements, and things like that. But there is that silver lining of spending a lot more quality time, with each one of them, kind of getting a chance to see them grow in a bunch of ways that, when you're gone, like you said,
you never would have had that time.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So there definitely has been a silver lining. I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what do you think is the most profitable way that people in our industry can spend time that we have this lull? Because, you deal with the postponement, you deal with the cancellation, however you're going to deal with it, whether it's a refund or whether it's a, not going to refund, however you decide to deal with it. But how can people position themselves for when there's a
how they should be using their downtime? For me, big ones. And I enacted some of this years ago, but I know some people still have not. Software systems. I personally, for wedding planning, use Aisle Planner. I use Honeybook for contracting and payments. Those saved hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of my time as a business owner, and they are invaluable. Also, template emails. I've worked a lot on template emails during this time. So even something like I was talking about before of hey, you want to set an appointment to talk with me about postponing your wedding. First, here's this questionnaire you need to fill out. Second, you need to read this whole page that I've spent hours writing so that I don't have to repeat myself over and over and over again. And to me, that's profitable because time is money and time is our most precious resource.
I love that. I need to spend more of my time doing that, writing some of those email templates. I've got, actually, I think in some of the emails that we sent, there was an auto response that came back that was hey, if this is about a cancellation or a postponement, click this link. And and I actually did. I clicked it and I looked to see what you had, and it really is well thought out. So that's some really, really good advice for people in our industry who might be, wondering what are they doing on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, that they're not setting up, they're not striking.
Well, and don't do it on Saturday or Sunday. Take that time and spend it at your damn house with your damn family for once, because all we do is work weekends.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this is a show about venues. Of course, it is about vendors as well, but it's called the Venue RX. And so my big question to you is, what would you like to see venues do more of? And I'm going to be very specific. Let's talk blank canvas venues, maybe even venues that have an owner on property, or they have some sort of scenario where it's we
all know some things. Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Well, what would you like to see? How does a venue become easier to work with, in your opinion, as a wedding planner?
I'm going to try and say this without getting too micro or specific.
You're like, I have some venues in mind that I like to
yeah. Okay. First of all, let's talk about, I have so many thoughts about this, but
fire away.
For a new venue, I think that it would be really in their best interest, if they are really trained to kick ass and position themselves in the industry, to pay a wedding planner to come and walk their venue and go through everything from beginning to end, guest experience wise. This is flow. This is everything. I think that wedding planners don't get enough credit for the fact that we know, maybe not to a specific level, but we know the umbrella of everybody's job. We're probably the only ones who know everybody's job. And that's from the beginning to the end of an event. So we're also the first line of defense in many cases when a client comes to us looking for something. So that's a venue or another type of vendor, anything. I literally know everything that any client is looking for in a venue. So when you could spend, a day rate for a wedding planner to come out and look at that and give you tips and tricks and all of that kind of stuff, it is going to be money well spent. And it probably won't cost that much of an initial investment if you're trying to do, an event venue. My clients say the same things over and over and over again in what they want from a venue. So my knowledge is worth a lot. And I think that that's super important.
That's huge, because that means that a venue is actually seeing the event through the eyes of the bride, the groom, the couple, maybe the guests, rather than just through their eyes, which is like, I don't want, my property destroyed. Like, there's just a different set of priorities, certainly, that a venue has, whereas you're coming at definitely from being a piece of the puzzle to help bring their vision to life. So what that vision is probably over 500 times at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big one that I think a lot of venues fail to do. And it just would be easy to do at the beginning. I suggest, whenever possible in the budget or whatever, that a venue owner not have hands-on, day-to-day, every second experience with their venue, that it's best to have some sort of manager or in-between person that can serve as a liaison between other vendors, between clients, et cetera. That doesn't mean that they should have a completely hands-off approach, but I find that the personal involvement of some of these owners is to the detriment of their business.
That, I think, is well said. I want to dig into that a little bit deeper. Do you feel like you would recommend a venue have that separation of a person or a company?
Yeah, absolutely.
Buffer a bit?
Yeah, whether that's hiring a company like your business, Common Sense, or hiring, I've seen some that have wedding planners who have the time to take that on, or just hiring a job as a venue manager. But yes, I think that having that in between, especially right now, I've seen it more than ever. Like, there's just so much emotion that goes into weddings that if you don't have a buffer, it looks less professional, to be honest, because you let your heart and your emotions get into it. But B, it just makes everything so much easier to have this buffer and just have this person that can be kind of provide a united front and in essence be, not somebody that's not going to pick sides. It has to be somebody who's trained and caring and all of these sort of things. And that they can take in the best interests of the client and the best interests of the venue owner. But I think that is something really to invest in if a venue owner has the budget.
I totally agree with you. Of course, my agreement's slightly self-serving with what we do at CSE. We do help manage venues, but we've seen that, it seems very much the emphasis that the venue owners themselves put on the communication is all, I don't want to say selfish, but in a way, they're just thinking about the venue. They're not as much thinking about the client experience. And venue owners, though, they do care very much about their property. They care about, the couples that they have. But at the same time, you are right. They are kind of the last line of defense instead of there being a buffer between them, and the couple that allows for more conversation to happen, certainly more growth, maybe more suggestions, right, for how to grow the business. Just like you're saying, that I think that was a really good point. Having a coordinator come in every once in a while, having a planner come in who has design details in mind, who has the client experience in mind, and who can kind of walk themselves through the venue like they were the couple and point things out. Maybe turf needs to be fixed or, different modifications need to be made.
Electricity, bathroom stuff, getting ready rooms, parking, any of these kind of things. It's very rare that I've come across another vendor that's not a wedding planner that can point these things out in such a short amount of time and be so efficient at here's a list of 20 things that you need to do that's going to make more people book your venue, which is the goal, right?
Mm-hmm. And so that's a perfect segue. It's like you were just reading my mind. I wanted to ask you about booking your venue more. And maybe even if a venue owner is listening to this and they want to increase the price of their venue. You talked about as a vendor going to the top of your price category. Once you have some experience under your belt, once you know the value you can provide.
I just want to be this sounds weird, but my goal is to be slightly out of reach for a lot of my clients. That way they feel there's value there. It's an investment. And that creates the beginning of a relationship. And I think everybody should feel that way.
I think that's a huge point. I think I've personally just heard that with different coaches talking about clients that they take on. A lot of times someone who's charging $50 or $100 as a coach, they end up getting clients that are like, it's, $50. That's not that big of an investment. But if it's $5,000, it's like, oh shit, I better pay attention. I'll be taking notes. Each one of these minutes is costing me a lot of money. I want to be milking every single thing I can out. And as a coach or someone who's just pouring your heart and soul into what you're doing, you want that dynamic between you and whoever you're trying to serve.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So as far as, in your opinion, what a venue could do to be able to increase the price, are there some kind of go-to things that you think maybe are missed opportunities that venues often aren't noticing to increase the value and the price of their venue?
Well, one thing is simple, but this could again be a venue manager, or if you're going to do it yourself, just have that aspect of humanity. So many of these venues come across like this cold shell. And this is in communication from the very beginning when somebody inquires with you, how you react to that inquiry, how you respond, what your language is, what your social media is. Do you care about your clients? Is this a family? Do you hope that they come back, and if you're a hotel or boutique sort of, B&B or something like that, do you hope that they're going to come back on their 1-year anniversary and spend time with you year after year? All of these things, I think that so many vendors, but venues in particular, forget that this is a heart-driven industry, and it is. And, the pandemic has driven this home more than ever. we have to show some compassion and we have to show some caring and heart and all of these things. And so I think that venues really need to think about, hey, I'm all about this is a business. We all need to make money. We all need to protect our time, but we also need to make these people feel special. And, in most cases, they're spending a lot of money, huge chunk on the venue. What are you doing to make them feel like you care about their dollars?
That's powerful. That is so powerful. I love that. That's going to end up being in a clip because I think more people need to hear that message. Bringing the humanity to it, the empathy, I think is a buzzword certainly for us, and just understanding how to actually put that into action. Because it's one thing to have it be a buzzword, but a totally different thing to put your money and your actions behind it. And it's tough sometimes, we can struggle with that. Well, I could ask you questions about venues till the cows come home, but we need to move on to the next segment of our show called The Wedding Wheel. And for those of you who haven't been on this show before, haven't heard this before, what we do is we spin this fun little wheel back here. It's filled with all these interesting questions, and Courtney is going to have an opportunity to answer them. So I gave her an example of a couple of the different types of questions, but she doesn't really know what's on here. So we're going to go ahead and give it a nice firm spin, see what we come up with. All right. What is the most underrated trait for entrepreneurs or business owners in this industry?
Empathy. Like we just talked about, empathy. Put yourself in the shoes of your clients. Don't only think about yourself. Don't only think about business. Think about how these people feel during any kind of situation.
I love it. I love it. The second part of that was you were supposed to answer that later after we do the left at the altar component. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a second question to answer. I'm going to go ahead. I actually am very curious about one of them. Where is a location for you that inspires creativity? So wait, don't answer it yet. We're going to come back to it in just a moment. I want to move to the next segment of the show called Left at the Altar, which is any big mistakes, failures, anything that you feel like you did maybe early on in your career, maybe recently, that you, in hindsight, look back and say, man, I wish I would have done that differently, and maybe something that you can pass on to other people in the industry.
This is probably not what you want to hear, but I'm like a very careful person. Everybody makes human mistakes, but like, I just don't make them often at work. I
love it.
It's true. I'm a wedding planner. I plan for things. I know how a group of people is going to react in any given situation. I plan for all of it. If my client chooses to go another direction after I've given them advice, that's on them. And I don't consider that a mistake on my part. But I will answer the question in probably a different way than you were intending. Cool. And that is that I posted a little something on this on Instagram today about this, but at the beginning, I did not vet my clients enough. We all, as entrepreneurs, are so hungry for business that sometimes we get desperate, and especially right now. And especially in this industry where you could be working with people for a year or longer, this can make your life hell if you choose the wrong people because you need a paycheck, right? So standing up for what you believe in, putting these things on your website, like we talked about, to vet people ahead of time. I let too many people in to my clientele that were not worthy of me. Mm-hmm. And I think that everybody should have that confidence to be able to turn people down. We all hear the red flags when they come in. We all see the red flags when they come in, and we ignore them a lot. And I think it is very important to listen.
So how would you recommend someone goes about doing that? And this can be our daily prescription for the day, but I feel like that is right. You are totally right. It takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of, especially for someone new in the industry, you want those dollars. You want the business, you want the opportunity to work, especially now, like you said. Are there some things that you've done to kind of give yourself that confidence to go in and just say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that?
I mean, some of it has just come from experience, and that's hard. I know when people are trying to enter a new market, they can be desperate for information. desperate for a prescription on specific on how to do this. Sometimes it just takes experience. And I just had not so many, but a handful of really bad experiences that I never want to repeat. And so, in general, I find that my instinct tell me when those people have arrived. And so I'm not available that day, or, here's some other coordinators you might want to work with. Hey, I don't want you, but go on over to her. That sort of thing. You have to know that it's not worth the hell that they're going to bring to your life for the next year to get that 5 or 10K or whatever it is for a venue. They can be just as bad. They may want to show up and do tours twice a week. They're going to take so much of your time that's just not worth it, and you will learn as you go what those red flags are. And what I've tried to do with some of it is, like I've said, build in things to my website, build in things to my contact form that stops those people before they even inquire and goes like, am I a fit for this or am I not? Some people get through the cracks, of course, but you'll learn and you need to say no.
I can't be too specific here, but we have had a dear client who managed to ask us individual questions that were already answered in an FAQ on multiple platforms. So like they'd ask a question on Yelp and then put it in the subject line of an email. And then, but it was on Instagram. It was quite amazing, actually. Like I felt there was like quite
dedication to annoy.
I don't know how it happened, but it was, we've had some funny stuff. That's going to.
So like what I would do in that situation is I would choose the most professional form of communication, which to me is email. It's not text. It's not Instagram DM. It's not Yelp. I would choose email and I would say, hi, so-and-so. We are so glad that you're so excited about our venue. Here's a link to our frequently asked questions page. Once you've read through it, please let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.
We were just about a step away from someone trying to fire up my old Facebook page from back in the day and ask questions like that. That's how crazy it got. But that's a really good point. Okay, so go ahead. Let's go back to that question. What's a space for you that inspires creativity when you're feeling down?
For me, like obviously I use Pinterest because it's just the universally accepted form of sort of beginning a mood board, beginning the look of a wedding. But I actually take more inspiration from interiors. So like Architectural Digest, going through people's homes, looking at Instagram, different hashtags for maximalist interior, minimalist interior, white and gray homes, those sort of things like bring me more inspiration that I feel is more diverse, be unique, than looking up Palm Springs weddings on Pinterest and then everybody that year recreating that one wedding that got some attention and they all look the same before we know it. So, there's always going to be trends in weddings, but I think looking outside of weddings on Pinterest is where I draw the most inspiration.
I'm curious, as something you said just kind of like triggered this in my mind. Do you follow along with like the whole color of the year thing that gets announced? How much?
No, dude. It's yellow and gray. We had that like years ago and I can't even remember 2011, 2012. No, fuck no.
Who decides that? Like, is there like
probably some intern at Pantone or whatever the hell it is. And I don't know, but no, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah. What is it? What is it this year? Is it
yellow and gray?
It's like, yellow and gray this year?
Yeah.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, it's yellow and gray. We already had that. Been there, done that.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, folks. It's okay to not go along with
whatever. Don't go with the colors of the year. We don't need it.
Okay, cool. Diversity. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, well, we're almost to the honeymoon phase, but we are introducing a new segment to this show that I personally am very, very, very excited about. This is the OMG section of the show. So Courtney, how this goes is you can be as graphic and detailed as you like. You can pass. You can say whatever you feel like. But what are some dramatic, maybe shocking, risque? It can be pretty much take it in whatever direction. But as wedding vendors, we see probably the best and probably also the worst of people. And so would you share with us a maybe cringy moment that you've had before?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm so excited right now. I'm so excited.
It's not that big of a deal, but it's one of the most shocking things I've seen. And that was when one of my coordinators and I walked in to the getting ready area where the bride was with her bridesmaids. And we saw her doing a very large pill bottle full of cocaine, snorting cocaine before the wedding. This was like, I can't even explain to you how much cocaine was in here. I don't do drugs, okay? But I know it was a lot of drugs, and it was before the wedding. In every photo, like, it was clear that she was under the influence, and it was just incredibly shocking to me. Like, hey, save that for the evening, save that for the party later. But yeah, that one was pretty bad. And do you want me to tell about the time that the venue owner said that vendors could not?
Oh yes, please do. Please do. We have to have that. We'd have to have you back on the show just to share that.
Okay. I think, because you're talking about venues, it is important, I think, so important that you treat your vendors with the same hospitality that you would treat your clients and your guests. These are actually potentially more important to your future business than the clients. Why? Because we are repeat clients. I could bring 10, 15 weddings to you in the span of 1 year. I mean, what does that translate to for most venues? $100,000 plus. So yeah, I did have a venue owner that told me once that a videographer completely destroyed her bathroom, and that I needed to tell all of the vendors that they were not allowed to shit. They were not allowed to shit on her property. And needless to say, I did not tell everybody, because what are you supposed to do?
Was there like a suggestion, like there's a porta potty outside?
There's no other location.
This is just
go
like
to the bathroom.
Go before, no Taco
we
Bell.
Just sort of talked it out, and that kind of went away. And the vendors are their time, their business when they're in the restroom. But yeah, you probably shouldn't treat the vendors like that, because they also need to be able to use the restroom.
That is very important. Was there a moratorium on number one as well? Or was it?
No, they were allowed to go number one. They just could not go number two.
Got it. Okay. Well, hey, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I think that that's the best one I've heard so far. That's pretty
good.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. So good seeing your face. I know connecting with some of these folks that we haven't seen in so long, just because we haven't been out in person doing events. It is really nice. And I wanted to just end this episode with the honeymoon phase, which is all of the links and places that people can find you. If they're interested in hiring your services or checking out what you're about, or just checking out your amazing website, your team, where can people find and connect with you?
Yeah, my website is www.aftertheengagement.com. And I'm on Instagram at @the_wedding girl. And yeah, find me there. Say hello.
It's a rad handle. Yep. Let her know that you saw her on the show. And of course, this is her beautiful picture right back here that we've all been looking at.
Shout out Chris Wojak Photography.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I'll talk to you later.
Definitely.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching that episode with Courtney Tibbets. That was hilarious. She is so much fun. And, if you took any enjoyment or got any information, valuable information for your business out of that, we would love for you to leave us a comment and just let us know what portion of that you enjoyed. Of course, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel, because we are going to be releasing many more interviews just like this one, full of content all about wedding and events businesses. So thank you so much from myself and the rest of the folks here at the Venue RX podcast team. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you in the next episode.